Everyone, welcome to Officers Adda 247 class. So heartily welcome to all the bankers in this early morning session. From today we are going to start MCQs of the module C. And if you want a module B MCQ, so that you will find in the playlist, right? So before to begin this session, I would like to say if you are new on the Officers Adda 247, just subscribe the channel so that you can get regular update and you can download the Adda 247 application so you can get everything at a one place. All right. So before to start, I would like to say, our target batch is started and a few lectures, just, few lectures has been done. But now still it is not over and it is not in the middle. Okay, because it is still we are in the starting point. So you can just enroll in the target batch and there are multiple of the things you are going to get like 60 plus ebooks, 80 plus topic wise test series, topic wise full mock test and ebooks, detailed subject expertise and recorded lectures as well as a 130 hours live classes that will be two-way interactive class. So this batch especially for the English medium aspirants, and I want to say you that you just do not need to pay the full amount on the any kind of the batches that you are going to enroll for the JIB and CIB. You only have to use the code that is Y422, and with this code you are going to avail a maximum discount that would be you can avail on the batches as well as a mock test as well as a ebooks. Okay, so now just start just let's start today's class. And from the questions, actually we are going to understand the multiple concepts whatever I just want to elaborate you. So just try to understand all the concepts here, right? So, and one more important thing I would like to tell you that just use a pen and paper so that if you're finding anything is important, so you can just pen down that. Okay, so just try to solve this question, and for this question you have to know about what we understand by the current ratio. All right, so whenever we talk about the current ratio, we have to understand current ratio is actually equal to the what? Current ratio is actually equal to the, that is current asset, and that is divided by the current liabilities. Okay, so for that, the very important thing that you also have to know about what we understand by the current assets and what we understand by the current liabilities. Okay, and that all we are going to understand through this question. So I'm hoping that everyone is just going to understand with the proper way. So whenever we talk about the cash for any company, and that all the components we are understanding on the basis of the company's statement, right? So that is cash balance is given. So suppose that cash balance is given. So cash will always considered as your current asset of the company as well as a quick asset. And quick asset we will understand in the different question. Okay. So trade receivables, that also understandable as your current asset, because the trade receivables we can also understand it understandable as the, like we have to just take the amount from our debtors. Okay, so that also be a part of the current asset. Inventory is also your current asset. Okay, inventory you can understand as an stock. So inventory you can understand as a stock, so that would be considered as a current asset here. Trade payables, that means you can also just understandable as a account payables, you can also relate to that. So trade payables, that means this is a kind of the liability. Okay, so that will be your current liability. Okay, and after that, bank overdraft, when we talk about the bank overdraft, so that also be considered as your current liability. Okay, so now if I have to just find out like what would be the answer of this, just try to solve by your side. After that I will explain you. So now if I say that what would be the ratio, like what would be the current ratio of this question, so just tell me what would be the answer of this, because now it is so much understandable. So you can understand, because cash balance is a current asset, and account receivables or say trade receivables, that is you can also understand that is a bills receivables, that is current asset. Inventory, your current asset. Trade payables, that means the amount that you have to pay to your creditors. Okay, so that is known as a trade payables. Bank overdraft is a kind of the current liabilities. Okay, because it is also just understandable as for the short term period. So if I have to calculate the current ratio here, so just add here, that is current asset 15,000 plus 35,000 plus 40,000 plus 20. Okay, so after that, just divided by this. Just let me erase and just write me in a very fine way here. Okay, just a minute. Right. So if I have to calculate the current ratio, so that will be equal to the 15,000 plus 35,000 plus 40,000, right? And it would be divided by the your current liabilities, that would be 24,000 plus 6,000. Now if I just ask you what would be the equation of this, then would be become the 90,000 and it will be divided by the 30,000 and the ratio will be the 3:1. The correct answer of this, that is part B, that is 3:1. I'm hoping that everyone just understanding this, because for that you actually have to understand, if I talk about the assets is actually classified in two categories, the one that is current asset and another one that is a non-current asset, right? And after that you also going to understand that is a quick asset, and that is a different thing. Okay, so now understand another question. Which of the following statement is correct? The amount of the goodwill or capital reserve is found out in the books of the purchasing company only. The amount of the goodwill or capital reserve is found in the books of the vendor company only. Goodwill is equal to net assets minus purchase price. The face value of shares of the purchasing company will be taken into account while calculating purchase consideration. Okay, the correct answer of this question, that would be the A, because the amount of the goodwill. Okay, goodwill, what we understand by the goodwill is, you can understand it is a type of the intangible asset. Okay, so when we talk about the intangible asset, those assets who those assets, those do not have a physical existence, so those assets known as an intangible asset. Okay, those you can also understand those assets you cannot touch, you can understand that is an intangible asset. So like goodwill, brand, trademark, that all understandable as a goodwill, that all understandable as an intangible asset. Okay, so the amount of the you can just understand the amount of the goodwill or capital reserve is found out in the books of the purchasing company only. That is your option number A. Okay, so that is the option number A would be the correct here. Now the third question. A company raises a loan of the 20 lakh from the bank. So what impact will it make? Suppose that this is a company. Just a minute. Suppose that this is the company and this company is actually raising a loan of the 20 lakh rupees from the bank. Okay, so you have to just tell here that it would impact, like it would increase the liability, it will decrease the asset, it will increase the capital, what it would do. Okay, so you have to understand whenever any company taking a loan, that always just increase the liability. That a small kind of the question sometimes just confused you in the examination, so you just do not have to be confused, you have to just strong with your basics there. So it will increase the liability there, so that would be the impact, like a company raises a loan, so what would impact, like it would increase the liability there, right? Next question. This is a very important question, and that question you may get in the examination in the 2 marks. Okay, so that kind of the questions you have to practice more and more. In this question, a current ratio are given, and after cash payment to some of its creditors, current ratio will be that is a question that the question is all about. So just try to solve by your side, after that I will explain you. So just understand what would be the question here. Just try to solve by your side. Look, whenever we talk about the current ratio, what do we understand? The current ratio is equal to the current asset, and that will be divided by the current liabilities, right? Now, after that, we have to understand, like after cash payment to some of its creditors. So now you can understand a very important thing, what exactly is happening. If I'm talking about this is a current asset, okay, and if I'm talking about the cash payment that has been done, okay, so suppose that this is a company, and from this company actually cash is just going out from the business, and if the cash is just going out from the business, so cash is actually the asset of your company, asset, or you can the current asset as well. Okay, so if the cash is just going out from the company, that means your current asset is decreasing, and when your current asset would decrease, then your current ratio would also be decreased, because current ratio is equal to your current ratio is directly proportional to the current asset, right? So when the current asset would decrease, current ratio would decrease. When current asset increase, your current ratio would also increase there. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone just understanding the correct answer of this question, that would be the B. So from that concept we can understand like how to solve the questions in the examination likewise. Okay, So before to proceed further, I just want to say you just hit the like button as much as you can, okay, and share this video to your friends, to your colleagues, so that maximum number of our bankers can join with us in this session as well. So let's understand another question. That that question is actually taken from the chapter of the your company account one, and that is a very important chapter of your module C, because there are so many basic things that you have to understand, and from that you may get the questions like 8 to 10 marks questions straightway in the examination. This is a very favorite topic of your favorite chapter of your the examiner, okay. So if I talk about the question, is the premium received on the issue of the shares cannot be utilized for. That means any kind of the premium, that is, if I talk about the issue of the shares, and any company when issues the share in the general public, right? So from the general public, actually the company is going to receive the premiums. So the question is that premium is cannot be utilized for, like there are options are given. So the very first option that is given, the for the issue of the bonus shares, for the writing of the preliminary expenses, for providing the premium payable on redemption, and next is the for distribution of the dividend. So the correct answer of this question, that would be the for distribution of the dividend. That means dividend, you always have to understand, like whenever we are talking about this is always given like from the profit of the companies, okay. So whenever we talk about, because dividend is provided by the some companies, like that thinking process of that company is like the shareholders fund that utilize for profiting, okay, for profiting purpose of the company. So for that, dividend is provided to the shareholders, right? So for distribution of the dividend, premium received on the issue of the shares cannot be utilized. That premium that is received by the third is first call, fourth is second call. So after allotment, every installment is known as a call, okay. So if I say that, suppose that after becoming the shareholder, because at the allotment stage, actually some at the allotment stage, actually the some applications would be accepted and some applications would be rejected. So for that, like for those application received and that would be accepted, that means that what which person's application received, that is known as the shareholders of the company. So like after the due amount, like we are talking about the first call, like we can understand, suppose a company demanding the money in the installment, this is a 10 rupees, and company want 3 rupees in the application stays, 2 rupees allotment stays, 3 rupees first call, and 2 rupees the second call. So after allotment, you have to understand, like the sum amount that is due on the shareholder, okay. But that due amount is not provided by the shareholders, so that amount is known as a arrear, or say calls in arrear. Right? So now you have to understand a very important concept here, that what we understand by this question, calls in area appear in the company's balance sheet under which head. So the correct answer, that would be the shareholders fund, because it is a kind of the liabilities, okay. So calls in area, we can understand calls in area that would appear on the liability side, the shareholders fund, okay. So calls in area appear in the company's balance sheet under which head, that is a shareholders fund. That would be the correct answer for this question. Read next question, that is calls in advance appear in a company's balance sheet under which head, okay. In the previous question, we actually understand the calls in area, okay. So calls in area, I hope everyone just understood this. Now call in advance, what we understand by this, suppose that undemanded amount, or say undemanded, we can say the undemanded amount that is paid by the shareholders in advance, so that is just understandable as a call in advance, okay. So that appear in a company's balance sheet under which head, so that will appear in the company's balance sheet under the your current liabilities section. So that would be the correct answer of the B question, okay. So what we understand by the call in areas, suppose that company demanded, but the shareholder have not paid the due amount, right? So that is known as a call in areas. So that's why it is something, you can understand, this is something the asset of the company, but it is something the asset of the company, so that it will just appear on the liability side because of the deducting what we say, that is deducting from the share capital. Okay, so that why we have to just deduct the amount that is called in arrears from the share capital. Okay, so that why it will appear on the liability side, and that's why the call in arrears. Now I think everyone just understood this. That is called calls in arrears. Suppose that company demanded, but shareholders have not paid, and in demanding the amount, shareholders already provided the fund. So that is a kind of the liability, because it is not, it is not in the period, it is not in the due period. Okay, so that's why it is a kind of the liability. It is just shown under the current liability. So that's why the call in advance appear in a company's balance sheet under the current liability. Next question. This is quite simple question, that is liquid asset. What we understand by the liquid asset, either you can also just understand that is a quick asset, right? So quick asset do not include, like the multiple options are given: bills, receivables, debtors, inventory, bank balance. So just understand bills, receivables, as you can understand, like from whom, like you have to just receive the payment. So that means that would be considered as a current asset. Debtors always be a current asset. Inventory, okay, look here, we have to just find out the quick asset. So bills receivable also the current asset as well as the quick asset. Okay, debtors current asset as well as the quick asset. Inventory is only the current asset, not a quick asset. That is a very important thing up you have to understand here. After that, bank balance, when we talk about the bank balance, that is also understandable as a current asset as well as a quick asset. So now just tell me what would be the answer of this question. Now I think it is pretty obvious to understand. The correct answer of this question, that would be the inventory. That would be your current inventory. That would be only the current asset, not the quick asset. Okay. So bill, receivables, debtors and bank balance, that is all the current asset as well as the quick asset, but the inventory. And one more thing that you have to understand here, that is the prepaid expenses. Inventory and the prepaid expenses both are not the quick asset, but it is the current asset. Okay, so that is an important thing. Now just tell me, this is a pretty obvious answer of this question. Just tell me what would be the answer of this. The capital of the firm is given, liabilities are given, and if the losses are 40,000, so the total assets that would be, you have to calculate. Just tell me what would be the answer of this question. The very important thing that you have to understand, one thing, that is a balance sheet equation, and another thing that you have to understand, that is accounting equation. Okay, so whenever we talk about the balance sheet equation and accounting equation, you have to understand the assets is actually equals to your liabilities plus capital. Okay, so that capital may be the shareholders fund, sometimes that is written as a shareholders fund as well. So if the capital of the firm that is given the 2,50,000 rupees, right, and the liabilities are given the 60,000, and if the losses are given the 40,000, so you have to understand, whenever we talk about the gains or losses, that always would be added and deducted from the capital of the firm. So whenever we are talking about, like, we have to calculate the asset. So now just tell me what would be the answer of this question. Anybody can tell me what would be the answer of this question. Now just try to tell me. Yes, right. Now just understand. So whenever we talk about here, that is total asset, that means just right here, that is total assets, and that would be equal to your liabilities. So liabilities, just tell me what would be the liabilities, that is giving the 60,000, just right here, plus. Now you can understand the capital of the firm given is a 2,50,000 rupees, and the losses are given the 40,000. That means this would be equal to the 2,10,000 rupees. Now you can tell me what would be the total value of the total asset. Then it would become the 2,70,000 rupees. Okay, so that would be your correct answer for this question. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone just understanding, because these are the very important question from your exam point of view. And what I am just trying, I will just try to explain the concept behind every question. Okay, so that's how we solve the questions. Now, next question. You the one term that we understand, the preparation of the trading and profit and loss account, and another that that preparation of the balance sheet, right? So that two things you understand while you are talking about the preparation of the final account. Now When we talk about the trading, we are talking about the preparation of the trading account. What we understand by that? Preparation of the trading account is always just to find out your gross profit or the gross loss. That means direct profit earned by through the selling. Okay, so that is known as a gross profit or gross loss. So trading account is always prepared to find out the your gross profit or gross loss. Okay, whenever we talk about the profit and loss account, so profit and loss account is prepared to find out what that is net profit or net loss. And these kind of the small things, these kind of the small things actually ask in the examination. That's why this examination is very important. And there are multiple type of the basic questions that ask in this exam. Think that everyone just enjoy the session, and if you just enjoy the session, just hit the like button on this session. Okay, so because it actually appreciates us. So I'm hoping that, okay, if you just get in this 10 MCQs, if you just got the 5 marks, and then still you are just preparing very hard, right? So very well done, very all the best to everyone here. So now I just want to tell you, just enroll the batches. Okay, and you only have to use the code, that is Y422. Just do not forget that, and you just, because you just do not need to pay the full amount here, you only have to use the code Y422, and with this code you are going to get the big discount. So now just hit the like button and share this video to your friends, to your colleagues, so that max the number of our bankers can grow our family. Okay, so now we'll meet on the tomorrow. Thank you everyone for joining in this session.